You know, when we talk about success, it's so easy to just focus on the person holding the trophy, right? The one who actually crossed the finish line. But today, we're diving into an explainer that looks at a deeply personal story of sacrifice. We're going to trace the invisible footsteps that paved the path to one woman's success. And we'll be looking at this entirely through her lens, a lens of just immense, overwhelming gratitude for what it actually cost to get her there. So imagine stepping into the shoes of a newly appointed, highly successful officer. You've made it. But right in that moment of absolute triumph, you look across the room and it hits you. You realize that your entire life, every single accolade, that comfortable chair you're sitting in, it's all built on the silent, agonizing suffering of your older brother. As she put it, "Brother, every success of mine is because of your sacrifice." Let's actually retrace the steps that led to this incredibly heavy, heartbreaking realization. All right, Section 1, the foundation of my success. Her story starts back in a village plagued by a poverty so deep, so suffocating, that just having dinner was an unaffordable luxury. Driven by the sheer desperation of seeing his aging mother and little sister go without, a young boy named Rahul makes a really tough choice. Hiding his own tears, just so he wouldn't break his mother's heart, he leaves the only home he's ever known for the harshness of the city, desperately hoping to find work. And it would be years of silent labor before he'd finally return. Moving on to Section 2, the city illusion. Now back in the village, whenever they received his monthly earnings, the family held on to this really comforting illusion. Because Rahul was in the big city, they desperately hoped, that he was living well. But the reality, well, it was devastating. He was often going to sleep on a cold floor with a completely empty stomach. He was shielding his family not just from poverty, but from the brutal, everyday reality of his own suffering. He bore that entire burden in absolute silence, just so they could sleep peacefully. Which brings us to Section 3, earnings of blood and sweat. In this city, Rahul endured a grueling daily test of human endurance. We're talking about working non-stop beneath the relentless sun, through heavy, freezing rain, and surviving solely on dry bread, literally nothing else. And why? Because every single penny of his earnings went straight back home. He starved himself and took on the absolute worst of the elements, driven by one singular, unwavering mission. He wanted to protect his little sister's future, even if it meant totally sacrificing his own present. Section 4, the last 100 rupees. One day, while pushing his body to its absolute breaking point at work, Rahul suffers a terrible injury. So now he's hurt. He's completely alone in this massive city, and he's faced with a really terrifying reality. This isn't some hypothetical moral dilemma you read about in a book. He is forced into an impossible, real-world choice between his own immediate physical survival and his family's long-term hope. 100 rupees. After getting hurt, Rahul reaches into his pocket, and that was it. Just 100 rupees left to his name to treat his open wounds. To put that into perspective, that tiny amount was his one and only safety net in an incredibly unforgiving city. He desperately needs medicine, right? He needs it to heal, to prevent infection, and honestly, just to be able to keep working. But on that exact same day, back in the village, his little sister's school fees are due. If he buys the medicine for himself, she loses her education. She loses her one and only ticket out of the cycle of poverty. So in an act of just pure, agonizing selflessness, he forgoes his own medical care. He sends that last 100 rupees home. He actually chooses her mind over his own body. And finally, Section 5, recognizing the real hero. So years of this grueling labor pass, and the boy who left the village to save his family finally returns home. But get this, he's no longer sending money to a helpless little girl. He is standing face to face with an educated, highly respected officer. His mission? An undeniable success. But as she stands there, her immaculate, pristine uniform stands in this incredibly painful contrast to his sheer physical deterioration. As the sister looks at the brother who literally made it all possible, she reaches out and takes his hands. And they aren't the hands of the young boy who left. They are completely torn, battered, calloused, the undeniable physical proof of all that hidden suffering. Holding them, the immense weight of eternal gratitude just washes over her. She realizes her success wasn't just earned through her own studying. No, it was bought and paid for by the blood, the sweat, and the torn skin of her brother. So it leaves us with this question: who is the Rahul in your life? Because let's be honest, very few of us achieve our goals entirely in a vacuum. Most of us are standing on the shoulders of someone who made invisible compromises just so we could shine. I want you to reflect on your own successes for a moment. Identify those unseen sacrifices that fueled your journey, and maybe take a moment to thank them. Because at the end of the day, true success is never just about how high you climb. It's about acknowledging exactly who held the ladder. So who's holding yours?